Okay, what's going on, everybody? We're here, we're live. I want to thank you all for joining me today. If you can see and hear me clearly, please drop a one in the live chat and then we can get today's stream started. And as I'm waiting for the ones to come in, as usual, if you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button as well as the bell notification next to the like button so you can be notified whenever I release a new video. Also, or I should, excuse me, rewind. Take two. If you haven't already, please hit the like button because that is the most important thing that you can do for me on this channel. That helps in making sure that those who are subscribed to this channel will get their actual notifications from YouTube. And it also helps so that this video permeates throughout the YouTube algorithm, therefore pushing this out to those who are interested in this type of content. Secondly, please make sure you hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel and hit the bell notification next to the subscribe button so you can be notified whenever I release a new video. And lastly, please make sure you share this video out on your social media platforms as well, because it does have the same effect within the YouTube algorithm. And it also just lets everyone know that I'm currently live. So now that the introduction is out of the way, we can get straight into today's stream. So what I wanted to discuss tonight is the madness happening at Joe Biden's open borders, right? The madness happening at the Texas border. And I want to take a quick moment. Let me pull this video up for you very quickly. And I'm just going to let it run as I speak, but just take a look at this, right? Take a good look at this, and I'll make it even bigger. This is pure chaos happening at Biden's borders right now. This is pure chaos. It's pure madness. When you look at this and you see the amount of people, something like this, it looks like almost something out of a music festival, right? That's how chaotic it is when you look at the literally hundreds of thousands of people gathered at the border to get in. And what's even more insane about all this is how everyone keeps telling you, or at least on the DNC side of things, they keep telling us, well, there's nothing that they can do about this. Their hands are tied because of the Republicans. But then if you make attempts to do things about it on your own, like in the city of Chicago, where you had a strong push and effort to end Chicago's sanctuary city status, you're told that you're xenophobic. So no matter how you approach the situation, you're constantly told that you're wrong. In the midst of what we're seeing now is more record highs concerning the number of daily crossers and monthly crossers. So I want to get into the new record high of 200K monthly crossers. And why this is so important for me to want to put out is mainly due to the fact that it's because they establish in this clip something that we've spoken upon many times before. They establish in this clip the fact that in the midst of this record high 200K plus border crossers that's coming this month alone, or I should say, within the last month alone, it's mostly men, overwhelmingly men. So let's get into this clip right now, and then we're going to get back into the discussion. So let me pull this up for you next.
Shows that nearly 200,000.
Let me rewind that back just a little bit.
New data from the Border Patrol shows that nearly 200,000 migrants have crossed the U.S. border this month, while agents process along lines of migrants showing up to the border. And one of the hardest hit areas is Eagle Pass, Texas. And that's where we find Fox's Caroline Elliott with more on that. Caroline.
Well, Rashi, all week long, it's been large group after large group. And behind us, you can see hundreds, if not thousands, of migrants who just crossed this border waiting to be processed here at this port of entry. Now, we're seeing migrants come from all over the world. Some are showing up in families, but most of these are...
Look at how ridiculous this all looks. This is crazy. And they're coming to an inner city near you. They're coming to the south side of Chicago. They're coming to the west side of Chicago, right? They're coming to a black neighborhood near you.
Single adult men. Earlier this week, Border Patrol reported...
Let me rewind that part back because I messed up the key part that I wanted to highlight in what she's stating here, right?
Just crossed this border waiting to be processed here at this port of entry. Now we're seeing migrants come from all over the world. Some are showing up in families, but most of these are single adult men. Earlier
Most are showing up, some are showing up with families, but most are single adult males. I want to rewind that back one more time because I think that's very important. Once again, I stress that so much because you're constantly told these sob stories about families and children. And yes, there are some families, some, and yes, there are children, and yes, there are single mothers as well. This is largely a case of single adult males crossing into the country, not families, not children, not single mothers. And a good point, an excellent point that was brought up by, our good brother, friend of the channel, Rob from Black Light Revelations 2, is that when he spoke on this on his channel not too long ago, he brought up the fact and the idea as well when we're talking about these so-called migrant families, because they're undocumented. How do we know that they're families? How do we know that that's even the case? How do we know that these aren't people that just met one another along the way and said, hey, we'll just say that we're family so that we can get across the border faster or have some sort of processing that goes by faster because we're families. We'll get special treatment because we're a family. How do you know that they're family? How do you know that when they're all undocumented, coming from all parts of the world? You have no way of knowing that. So even that has to be put in question when they're talking about families. They're not coming here with paperwork saying, here's our marriage certificate from Honduras or Nicaragua or wherever they're coming from, or from Mexico. That's not what's happening. So we really don't know what's going on. The only thing that we do know for a fact is that it's mostly single adult males crossing the border on a regular basis
to be processed here at this port of entry. Now we're seeing migrants come from all over the world. Some are showing up in families, but most of these are single adult men. Earlier this week, Border Patrol reported the highest number of daily crossings on record. And since then, we've seen even more migrants show up. Border agents are struggling to process these large groups. Republican Congressman Tony Gonzalez tells us in Eagle Pass, the CBP has more than 10,000 migrants in custody right now. Representative Gonzalez also tells us he visited the processing center in Eagle Pass today and says it's running 600% over capacity.
People are still coming, and there's more people in the pipeline. And I suspect Christmas will be worse than today, and New Year's will be worse than today. We're going the absolute wrong direction.
They're telling you right now, they already know New Year's and Christmas is going to be crazy at the border. It's going to be crazy. And like you said, Jet Black, yes, it is a complete disaster, and it's a disaster that's brought about by big homie Biden. Any attempts to shift blame away from him is completely insane. It's completely insane because this is something that he literally brought about on his own, and he knew he was going to do that upon entering into office. Now, what's even more insane is how desperate the DNC and their partners are to get Black Americans on board with being okay with open border policies that are negatively impacting the Black community as we speak, because open border policies and illegal immigration does negatively impact the Black community. That is a fact that goes without question. That's already been studied on numerous occasions, right? But they're so desperate to get us to get on board with this that they come up and say some of the most ridiculous, most nonsensical things concerning why we should be against Governor Abbott in Texas, be against his new law that he put in place that would actually make it legal for local officials there to grab illegal border crossers and deport them. I want you to listen to this next news clip that I'm going to pull up right now and listen to the foolishness that comes out of this woman's mouth that's about to speak.
Of migrants are converging on the border a day after Governor Abbott signed the state's toughest immigration law yet. This is what it looks like in Eagle Pass, where thousands crossed within the past 24 hours waiting to be processed. Tonight, Marcelino Benito is in the newsroom with the very latest. Marcelino.
Well, Ron, it's only been 30 hours since the governor signed SB 4 into law, and there's already a lawsuit challenging it. The legal battle's only getting started as the situation along the border continues to worsen. Tonight, dramatic new video out of Eagle Pass as thousands of migrants wait to be processed by Border Patrol agents. CBP data obtained by CBS News reports more than 10,800 migrants crossed through the southern border in a single day Monday.
The goal of Senate Bill 4 is to stop the tidal wave of illegal entry into Texas.
That new
I just want to take a quick moment to acknowledge, first off, thank you, Walter Wilbon, for being the first person to contribute to today's stream. I deeply appreciate your support and for always coming through. Walter is always showing love on the channel. So thank you very much, Walter. I do appreciate you. And I also want to highlight very quickly Hurricane IQ. Shout out to Hurricane IQ for giving me the nickname T-Devil. Hurricane IQ said, I fully support this new Texas law. It needs to be nationwide. And I 100% agree with you. I 100% agree with you that it needs to be nationwide, that states should have the right to deport illegal immigrants. That should be the case. And one of the other things that this highlights as well, concerning what we see happening in Arizona with a Democratic governor, once again, I forgot what her name is, how she signed an executive order, which now put in place the National Guard at the Arizona border. And then you have Greg Abbott in Texas, who was able to sign into law this new measure that would allow local officials or local authorities to arrest illegal immigrants and deport them. What this shows is the power that states actually do have. So when you have a situation like what's going on in Chicago, and J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, is just sitting there throwing his hands in the air saying, well, I don't know what to do. And then you have Brandon Johnson, who blames the Republicans and conservatives for everything. If Brandon Johnson wakes up in the morning and stubs his toe, he's going to tell you it was Greg Abbott in Texas. When they're sitting there doing that and acting like they don't know what's going on, that there's nothing they can do, they are lying to you and they're playing games with you. They're lying to you and they're playing games with you, because what the Democratic governor of Arizona showed you and what Abbott is showing you, who is a Republican in Texas, people that are on two separate sides of the aisles, they're showing you is how much power these states have. And that when you're looking at Governor J.B. Pritzker of Illinois, and when you're looking at Kathy Hochul in New York, when they're sitting there pretending that they don't know what's going on, they're lying to you. And they're playing games with you. And yes, Blegs at the community, I know the S is silent, but that's not how I say it. I say Illinois with a hard S, and it just is what it is. Let's not focus on the wrong thing. Now let's get back into this news clip.
daily record comes as Governor Abbott signed.
Let me rewind this just
into
a little
Texas.
That new daily record comes as Governor Abbott signed SB 4 into law along a new stretch of border wall. The controversial law allows law enforcement officers to arrest migrants suspected of crossing illegally, and the state could order them deported. If they refuse, they could face prosecution and jail time.
With SB 4, the consequences of it are so extreme. We expect a dramatic drop, well over 50%, maybe 75% of the people coming across the border illegally will stop entering through the state of Texas.
But tonight, the ACLU and Texas Civil Rights Project suing Texas, hoping to stop what they call the most anti-immigrant law before it ever goes into effect.
Okay, so this woman is about to speak on the most anti-immigrant law, air quotes, that has ever gone into effect. Listen to what she's about to say. Listen to this.
The bill overrides bedrock constitutional principles and flouts federal immigration law while harming Texans, in particular, brown and black communities.
Let me run that back.
Federal immigration law while harming Texans, in particular, brown and black communities.
The one
How this is what I'm talking about with Democrats and their foolishness concerning being so desperate to get Black Americans to be on board with policies such as this that don't benefit us in any way, shape, form, or fashion at all whatsoever, and actually has a negative impact on us and in our communities. How in the world is this law that Greg Abbott passing having a negative effect on the Black community? That literally makes no sense. She's talking complete gibberish. And at this point, these folks are literally saying anything. They are just saying anything at this point to get you in alignment with this, because they see what's happening. They see what the general sentiment is across the country, especially concerning Black Americans. Now, will that translate, in the 2024 election? I don't know. I don't know if we've actually learned our lessons, our lesson. Will that translate into, as I always shout out our good brother Rob, friend of the channel, will that translate into us organizing and engaging in extra political means to achieve our goals in our respective, states and cities? I don't know. I don't know if this has lit a fire up underneath us the way it should have. I hope so, but that's yet to be seen. But in the meantime, despite the fact that they're seeing this, it does make the DNC a little bit nervous. It does make their partners, like this woman here, a little bit nervous. And at this point, they're just literally saying anything. They're saying all types of foolishness. And shout out to Torian Rain Reloaded. What's going on with you, bro? What up, TD? Are you enjoying your new neighbors? Well, when I moved to LA, and I'm originally from Chicago, for those of you who don't know, but when I moved to LA in I think it was 2005, they were most definitely here when I got here. They were already here in LA when I got here. Everything that's happening in Chicago right now, in New York and stuff like that, from my understanding and from what I've seen with a little bit of research that I have done concerning how it impacted Los Angeles, this stuff had happened. This happened in LA since the 80s. Like, this has been done with over here. LA's been a wrap in that regards, as what we're seeing happening in Chicago and what we're seeing happening in New York. LA went through this in the 80s. So by the time I got here in 2005, I was the guest. I was the guest that showed up in LA in 2005, and everybody's like, oh, look, we have a new guest, look at the Black guy right there, right?
They call the most anti-immigrant law before it ever goes into effect.
The bill overrides bedrock constitutional principles and flouts federal immigration law while harming Texans, in particular, brown and Black communities.
The White
Okay, so we don't need to continue on with this. I really just wanted you to hear that part right there, that foolishness that somehow this is hurting Black communities. And I've heard this kind of rhetoric before. You consistently hear this, especially as I've covered Chicago for as long as I have, how they say, oh, this is dividing Greg Abbott, and what he's doing in Texas by busing everyone over here is dividing the nation, and it's dividing our city. The city was always divided. The city was always divided. That's never not been the case. The only thing that Greg Abbott sending these buses to Chicago has done, and sending these buses around the country has done, is that it's made it a little bit easier for, in my opinion, Black folks to be bolder in what they really want and how they truly feel about the treatment that comes from the Democratic Party as it pertains to them consistently voting for them religiously and getting nothing in return, while constantly watching everybody else be prioritized over them. I don't know what it is with Black folks and why we have such a hard time, admitting to this concerning the Democratic Party, and that we're so scared to almost openly be against them. And by the time we get into the voting booth, you get cold feet, and you either just vote blue no matter who, you don't look into certain policies and certain politicians the way that you should, and then we're not engaging in extra political activities the way that we should as well. I don't know what it is with that, and why that mentality is the way that it is. But I do feel that this migrant crisis has kind of triggered and flipped a switch in Black folks that has, for some reason, has made us feel a little bit more comfortable with being open, with our displeasures with the Democratic Party. right? But once again, we'll see if this actually translate in 2024. We'll see how that works, how that translate. And shout out to Jenny Lamb. Jenny Lamb, thank you very much for being the second person to contribute on today's stream. And if you've contributed on Cash App as well, I don't have my phone on me right now. My son has it, and he's in the other room, right? So if you did show love on Cash App, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Jenny Lamb said, showing love and support for the channel. Thanks, TD, for putting this info out. I thank you for your support, Jenny, and for always coming through. Now what I want to do, this is getting so ridiculous that even the president of Mexico is speaking out against Greg Abbott in Texas, and he's talking complete foolishness. And I just want to read off a couple quotes and a couple of things that he said, and then we're going to head on out of here. This article here is from NBC News, and it's titled "Mexico's President and Texas Governor Clash Again Over Immigration." This guy is talking foolishness. I don't even know why he's opening his mouth to say anything at this point. But like I said, I'm not going to read the entire article. I just want to go through some of the silly things that he had to say. So here's what the president of Mexico stated concerning Greg Abbott's new law. He wants to be the Republican Party's vice presidential candidate in the United States. Take two. He wants to be the Republican Party's vice presidential candidate. In the United States, he wants to gain popularity with these measures, Lopez Alvarado said after he was asked about the new Texas law. Abbott signed the law on Monday. The quotes continue, "You are not going to win anything," he warned Abbott. How is the president of Mexico going to tell Abbott what he will and won't win? That's crazy. On the contrary, he will lose sympathy because in Texas, there are many Mexicans, many migrants. He forgets that Texas was from Mexico, like 10 states of the American Union. But the thing is that they're not Mexico anymore. It's the United States. And a good deal of them, a good deal of the Hispanic community actually voted for Greg Abbott. And now that I think about it, let me see if I can pull that up right now. I want to pull up the exit poll. Let me see if I can pull up the exit poll for you very quickly. Let's see. Open in. No, I think it's just one right here. Here's the exit poll, right? And let me show you guys something. Because he's saying this and he's speaking this like this as if Hispanics aren't voting for Greg Abbott, when indeed they are. Let me make sure that on my screen you can see what I'm saying. Okay, we're seeing the same thing, right? Look at this. Now let me zoom in. And what you're seeing right here are the Texas governor exit polls, right? Here we are with race. And of course, guess who's at 84% that voted Democrat in the governor? Let's zoom in real close right there. Oh man, I love our people, man. I love us. We got a lot of work to do, man. Look at us with that big old 84%. You know, if you got to choose, if you don't choose Democrat, you know, you ain't black. You know what I mean? It's a religion, you know, for us. Just voting blue no matter who's stuff. And look at where it's got us, especially in Chicago. But all right. But anyways, the president of Mexico, he's speaking as if the Latinos in Mexico vote like the Black Americans have in Texas, right? He's speaking as if they are the ones that vote to the scope of 84%. But that's not the case. As you can see here, the majority of them did vote for, who was that? Beto O'Rourke, I believe his name is. You know, the majority of them did, but it wasn't by the same extreme margin that black folks did. They voted majority Democrat, but 57 to 40%, right? And obviously you see here, you have Asians 52 to 48%. And when it comes to other racial and ethnic groups, actually voted For Abbott, 67% to 31%. So overwhelming majority. So when he's saying, Hispanics and Mexicans and migrants will have the final say, essentially. Well, if you look at the exit poll breakdowns, a good deal of Hispanics, not the majority, but 40%, which is a lot, especially compared to black folks, right? 40% are in favor of Abbott. They voted for him. And when it comes to just migrants in general, we'll lump them in with other racial ethnic groups. They overwhelmingly would vote for Abbott if they could, as other racial and ethnic groups voted for Abbott to the tune of 67%, right? So let's get back into more of what the president of Mexico had to say. 'Cause like I said, he's just speaking nonsense at this point. Lopez Alvarado vowed to defend our countrymen and migrants and said Mexico already has a challenge to the law underway. The law is scheduled to take effect in March of 2024. Lopez Alvarado said that Abbott has forgotten that the U.S. was consolidated and strengthened thanks to migrants of the world, right? And this is a common talking point from Joe Biden and the DNC, right? Is that migrants built the country. This is a nation of immigrants. So he's parroting a common DNC talking point. He also admonished Abbott on religious grounds. He forgot the Bible. Excuse me. He forgets that in the Bible it says you should not treat strangers badly. I want to know what scripture and what verse that is. I'm sure to some capacity that's what, that's clearly that, in some way, in some capacity, that's in the Bible, obviously. But it drives me crazy when people want to misuse and misquote the Bible. They just throw it out there. The Bible says, look out for your folks. And the Bible, it doesn't say like look out for your folks. Like it doesn't say it like that. People love running to the Bible and misquote and just saying the Bible. The Bible said. Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that? Let's not play around with the Bible like that. Let's not just start taking stuff out of context and adding all type of things that aren't in there, right? I found that humorous that he states that. I'll read that again. He forgets that in the Bible it says that you should not treat strangers badly. I don't know where it says that, but okay, This man knows what he has done, he said. Lopez Alvarado warned Abbott that he will face the same political fate as DeSantis, also a Republican. This is what I thought was really ridiculous, and it shows how out of touch the president of Mexico is with American politics and how he really just doesn't know what he's talking about. Listen to what he said about Ron DeSantis. DeSantis, was ahead in the polls. He was not ahead of Trump, but he was in second place. And he started with those measures and he fell. He said, this is what will happen to the governor of Texas with those decisions, Lopez Alvarado, the president of Mexico, said. By the president of Mexico's logic, if that was why Ron DeSantis fell off, by his logic, then what's her name? Put the camera back on me. Oh, I'm brain farting right now. I'm so mad at myself for doing it. Who's in second place right now? Please help me out in the live chat in the Republican race. It's Donald Trump. And what is that woman's name? I can't believe I'm brain farting right now. Please help me out quickly. What is her name? Nikki Haley. Thank you very much. Nikki Haley. Thank you very much, everybody. By the president of Mexico's logic, Nikki Haley should be number one then, right? Nikki Haley should be number one. If Ron DeSantis measures that he put in place in Florida is why he fell off, his like anti-immigrant, anti-legal immigrant policies that he put in place, that's why he fell off, then how is Donald Trump number one? Donald Trump came out the gate in 2016. He kicked in the door on his anti-immigrant tip. You know what I'm saying? He kicked in the door. And when he got in office, I'm not gonna lie, it was funny. He's kind of bogus for it, but he was funny. Day one, remember he put the anti-Muslim no fly thing in place, right? Where all the Muslim ban, it was the Muslim ban. Day one in the presidency, he put in place a Muslim ban and sent the country in a frenzy. It was a little humorous. It was funny because of how stupid and silly that was. It didn't really make any sense. But my point is that Biden kicked in the door on his anti-immigrant tip, and that has not affected him at all. Didn't hurt him one bit. If anything, Trump being anti-immigrant, air quotes, right? Him being anti-immigrant is largely why so many people actually flock to him. I shouldn't say largely. There are a lot of other things that people like about him, but that's one of the things that they like about him, and that doesn't hurt him at all. So my point is just that by the president of Mexico's logic alone, he's just not making any sense, and he's just speaking complete foolishness at this point. And in my opinion, if he's so concerned with the treatment of his countrymen, then he should have probably treated them better in their country so that they wouldn't be coming over here. Doesn't that make sense? Or is that just a little too much like right? You're so concerned about your countrymen and other migrants. Well, why don't you house them over there? You see, he doesn't want them over there. He wants them over here. And what he's scared of is that these measures that Abbott are putting in place will keep them over there. So now what he's doing is pump faking as if he truly cares about his countrymen and other migrants. But if the president of Mexico actually did care about his countrymen, then the country in and of itself wouldn't be a third world nation that's upside down, to which not only his countrymen are coming through the border illegally, but he's allowing other so-called migrants to pass through as well as they assist them in coming into the country illegally, which has us in the situation that we're in now. So with all that being said, that does it for today's stream. I want to thank you all for joining me today. I will be back tomorrow. I'm probably going to do 2 streams tomorrow, actually, and 2 streams Friday, because I'm a little backed up. So I'll be working overtime coming down to the end of this week. But in closing, man, thank you all for those of you who supported. Shout out to Cutthroat Nash for always coming through. Cutthroat Nash, he said, of course, RSS, he's against it. Oh, okay. Of course he's against it. He's on the cartel payroll. Cutthroat Nash also said Mexico president is on the cartel payroll. He ran that back once again. And shout out to D for the super sticker. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody who supported today's stream. I appreciate all the support that you show me. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Like I said, I'm going to run it back with about maybe 2 more streams tomorrow, another 2 more streams on Friday, because I'm really backed up and I got to get this info out. So thank you all for joining me today. Hit that like button on your way out, and I will see you all tomorrow. Peace.